love poems from God. And I will now turn off my video and just be another one among us. So Uma, definitely I am not the class leader. It's not a class, it's a reading and discussion group.
Oh no, he went away. Now we can talk about him. Just kidding. He's there. He's listening. He's just off video. So hi, Dennis. So it's not just girls' night.
Hi
We have
there.
I and we have a Shankara and we have June and Heidi and Kat and Uma. Um,
And me.
and Joji G. Yeah, I can't see you because Shankara turned it on. Shankara, you can turn it on, but then just kind of walk away if you don't want to. You don't have to sit there. You can do what you want. Everybody can do what they want to do. I'm going to sort of not be the leader, certainly, but kick this one off. Um, I really like this book a lot, and rather than just read through it, I thought maybe we would start with a poem that's somewhere in the middle. How many of you actually have the text? Okay, you don't need to have it at all. Matter of fact, yes, I'm glad you. I guarantee that you'll like it if you don't have it. There's a Kindle version and a paperback. Um, but even though Brother Shankar is staying out of it, other than just another one of us, he and I kind of talked about, what to do, what might be a good idea. And so we picked a particular poem to start with. And Shankar, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I was just wondering if you think, just asking your opinion as a peer, if you think it would be a good idea to read her Saint Teresa's bio and then read the poem, or just jump into
Uh,
the.
I I would love to hear her bio. Uh, and for those of you who don't have the book, it will be very illuminating. So that's just my opinion.
Okay, the bios appear at the beginning of each section of each saint um, or teacher's poems, and okay, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of pull up I do have a Kindle, and I'm going to pull it up because I have it right at that spot. And so we're going to read the bio for Saint Teresa of Avila. Let me pull this over so I can kind of see you guys too.
H? No.
Well, I don't know if this is the actual page. Let's see. Oh, it says, well, that's not right because I'm on a Kindle. It says page 268, and I know that's not right.
H
That's
is
correct.
Oh, is it right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Um, okay, Saint Teresa of Avila. I found completeness when each breath began to silently say the name of my Lord. That appears at the beginning of the bio. And the bio is this. Teresa of Avila, 1515 to 1582, is undoubtedly the most influential female saint in the Western world, and she has made great contributions to spiritual literature and poetry. She was a woman of tremendous courage who is rightfully credited with remarkable political and religious reform achieved against the strongest and most insidious chauvinistic forces. A realistic picture of Teresa's life did not even reach the English reading general public until the 1960s. She was known to have had a remarkable quick wit and a stunning, even provocative sense of humor, as well as great physical beauty. Her complete works include 7 books, 450 letters, and assorted poetry. Her writings are considered masterpieces of mystical prose and verse. She personally founded 17 Carmelite convents and 2 monasteries, despite enormous opposition from the church and other men in power. Saint Teresa was born in Avila, a beautiful high mountain village of the Sierra de Gredos. She was one of 13 children, 3 girls and 10 boys, in a wealthy family. The Spain in which Teresa grew up was permeated with 700 years of Arabian culture. The eradication of Arab power was followed by one of Spain's darkest periods, the insanity of the Inquisitions, which in the 14th century, along with other grievous deeds, forced mass conversions of Jews to Christianity. Conversos, as they were called, were a continually prosecuted minority with special taxes, exclusion from church or military professions, and even service in the New World. At this time, most young males sought to make their fortune in the New World, as did 9 of Teresa's 10 brothers. Teresa's grandfather, a wealthy wool and silk merchant, had actually reclaimed his Jewish ancestry, partly for business reasons. The aristocracy protected and even intermarried with Jews, although the family had been conversos for over 100 years. However, before the end of the 14th century, the anti-Semitic atmosphere in Toledo, where the family then lived, became so extreme that Teresa's father, Alonso Sanchez, moved the family to Avila and aspired to live the life of the Hidalgo class, giving up his father's cloth trade and living off his savings. Inflation was rampant because of the great quantities of gold and silver brought in from the New World, and by the time Alonso Sanchez died, his family was bankrupt. Teresa was her father's favorite child and the most spirited. Her mother died during childbirth when Teresa was 13, after which she had little supervision. It is believed she had a lover at the age of 15, which caused her father to send her to a convent boarding house, only to see her return home 2 years later because of poor health. When she was 21, Teresa ran away from home to join a convent. At that time, many convents were more like hotels for women, allowing them a great deal more independence than they would be allowed at home. Though after 2 years at the convent, Teresa had a near-death experience that changed her life. A spiritual awakening began in which she cultivated a system of meditation that sought quieting the mind to such an extent that God could then be heard speaking. Over the next 20 years, she experienced many mystical states, but not until she was 50 did she begin the most far-reaching aspects of her life's work. Teresa had a great desire for learning, and when the Inquisition in 1559 forbade women to read, Teresa turned to God and asked him to teach her soul about divine love. She then began to write completely out of her own experience. Many of her poems are, in fact, intimate accounts of her communion with God. The Church's persecution of Teresa had not waned when she passed away and was buried in Alba de Tormes in 1582. A year after her death, some of her disciples, feeling that she might have wished to be buried in Avila, had her body exhumed. When her body was found to be perfectly intact and emitting a wonderful fragrance, her sainthood was formally decreed, allowing the publication and preservation of some of her works. Most of what we see today of Teresa's work is probably reined way back, for her writings fell into the hands and under the control of the very forces that had so opposed her throughout her life. With this in mind, the versions that follow attempt to portray a hopefully more genuine account of her astonishing relationship with God. So for those of you who joined us in the middle of that, I just read the bio from Love Poems from Love Poems from God, the bio of Saint Teresa of Avila, because I'm going to read next a poem, wonderful poems, and when I'm finished, we can talk about it. Just whatever it brings up for everybody. And anyway, this is one of my favorites. It's called Every Prophet's Name. I found completeness when each breath began to silently say the name of my Lord. That name, my conception of him, extended to me a hand that led to a place where even his divine name could not exist. Why? Most sounds express discontent, longing, or negotiation. A teapot may whistle out an ecstatic cry, but even that I learned to control until everything I knew burst in a glorious symmetry. I have no seams, no walls, no laws. My frontiers and God's are the same. One divine being is existence. All the forests on this earth combined are but a tiny wood fiber, a particle of one spoke on the wheel. What is the relationship of form to the unseen aspects of God? What percentage of God is unseen? What percentage of the truth of him do we know? He led me to a place where only light existed. Only in us is God so lost that he asks questions. The soul outside all walls never troubles him, never wonders things like, "Where are you, beloved?" For then your arms and God's are intertwined. I said to my Lord, "This holy place I have entered, is your name the only key to this?" And my Lord responded, "How old do you think is existence? For eons of time, souls have been entering me. Every prophet's name is a key, as is every heart full of forgiveness and love." And that's that.
Can you start? Can you start telling us why did you like this poem the most?
It may be not the most, there's so many wonderful poems, but I particularly like this one. And honestly, I think the main thing for me is those last lines.
Exactly. Yes.
Yes, because, so many of especially the Bhakta traditions and in Vedanta that we talk about, chanting the Lord's name and repeat, in a mantra or in different prayers. But the fact that the divine being has existed,
Yeah.
before God has existed before God existed.
Yes.
And,
Good one. Good one. Good one.
and I love that, every prophet's name that, someone uses to pray, as well as every heart full of forgiveness and love. When I grew up Christian and not fundamentalist, I grew up in the Episcopal Church, but nonetheless, there was still that there was still that element, especially when I was young, about, you had to believe in Jesus or you'd go to hell. And, as many little children do, as their parents, I was like, well, what about the people in parts of the world and they've never heard of Jesus or they've never seen, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. They usually kind of, the adults would just change the subject or something. But that's when I early on began to feel like something's not right here. Because there are,
Are you? Yes.
yeah.
Cindy,
Yeah.
would you repeat those last lines?
Yeah, sure. Okay, I'll start from where she said, I said to my Lord, this holy place I have entered, is your name the only key to this? And my Lord responded, how old do you think is existence? For eons of time, souls have been entering me. Every prophet's name is a key, as is every heart full of forgiveness and love. Sometimes these poems, when you've read one, what can you say? Everyone's being quiet, but I don't think it's necessarily because
I'm trying to understand.
yeah, just take your time. There's no hurry. Um, we have all the time in the world.
Well, as I read the top of my mind, um, some lines appeal to me. For example, I have no seams, no walls, no laws. My frontiers and gods are the same. And I am really very surprised that in those times, we are talking about 16th century here. I think she was born, let's see,
Yes, that's
sometime, yeah, 1515 to 1582. And these are very bold ideas.
yeah.
Very, what should I say? She is a free thinker. That God, the conception of God in in her experience, that it has no seams, no walls, no laws. So God is above all our human limitations, the ideas, our laws, our walls that we create between person and religion and religion. So God is above all these dualities, all these ideas which are created by humans. Or I could be wrong, but that sort of appeals to me. And the last two lines that tell it all, forgiveness and love. And that I think is the epitome of Christianity, which I very much like. That of course in Vedanta we love to talk about Atman, Paramatman, and that's wonderful. But I think love, forgiveness and love in the sense of broad love, love for all creatures, all plants, vegetations, humans, regardless of color, creed, nationality, religion, which I think is very powerful, that connects that love and forgiveness. These are the main principles in almost all religions. Truth. I think they should add truth also. Forgiveness and love.
Thank you, Uma.
Cindy,
Hey.
hey. So when she first asked those three questions, what is the relationship of form to the unseen aspects of God? What percentage of God is unseen? What percentage of the truth of Him do we know? And then she says, He led me to a place where only light existed. And the next line, that only in us is God so lost that He asks questions. So is she trying to say that basically God is all light, and we as, I guess, embodied beings ask all these other questions, the first three questions?
I'm not sure. What do you think? It's fascinating, and it's not this real clear cut, like, oh, I know exactly what she means. I don't. And that's part of why I love this poem, because some parts I go, yes, I know exactly what she means, or I think I do. But that's Swam, that's one of those parts of the poem that I have questions about too. I'm really not sure.
Yeah. I mean, the way I'm reading it is basically that He led me to a place where only light existed is sort of the answer to the three questions before that and the statement after that, that only in us, I mean, if we are,
Yeah.
again, the ignorant sort of, we have lost that knowledge and become in the dark place. That's why we ask all those questions. But if we uncover that ignorance, then it's all light. I
That
don't
ma-
know.
that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, that's how I read it.
Is that Jyoti?
Yes, that's how I understand it too.
Okay. Okay. It's all light, honey. That's what he's saying.
Well, she says that she's outside all walls, all laws, all seams.
Yes.
And then there's this couplet that says, the soul outside all walls never troubles him, never wonders things like, where are you, beloved? And then I think one of the very key lines of the poem, for then your arms and God's are intertwined.
Yes.
That
So the
unity.
idea of unity, they are both one. No difference between bhakta and God,
Yes,
isn't it?
yes, that's how it seems.
Yes. Bhakta and Bhagavan are the same, one.
Do y'all want to read another poem, or do you want to sit with this one a bit? Anybody have any thoughts?
You know, um, Cindy, I just got this book yesterday, and I was just browsing through the pages, and this poem by Rumi on page 79, and the last three lines just make me get up and dance. You know why? I'll read the lines. First, the title of the poem is On a Day When the Wind is Perfect. On a day when the wind is perfect. And the last three lines, peace is wonderful, but ecstatic dance is more fun and less narcissistic. Gregarious, he makes our lips. So now you know why I wanted to get up and dance, because he says wonderful, peace is wonderful. In every religion, shanti, shanti, peace is emphasized. But then the next line, he says, but ecstatic dance. And you know, we all know that Rumi, who was a Sufi poet, they have this dancing circle called Dervish, whirling dance. So I so much like, because I too love dancing. At any time rhythm starts or something that makes me happy or sad, I just want to be up on my heels and just zoom it up.
Mhm.
So
Since there are some people who don't have the book, perhaps we could ask Jyoti to read the whole poem.
yeah.
You have it pulled up?
Yes,
Yeah. I have page 78. I don't know if that's the
it's on
page.
page 79.
Okay.
Yeah, mine is 79 and 78 is belly dancer. So there is a lot of dancing here. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Brother Shankar, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also dancing in the streets for God. He was such an intense devotee of Krishna that he also began to dance,
Yeah,
worshiping.
he danced his way all the way from Bengal to South India.
Yes, yes.
So
that-
anyway, let's have Jyoti read the poem so that
Sure,
everybody can share in it.
sure.
The title of the poem, On a Day When the Wind is Perfect.
Yes.
On a day when the wind is perfect,
Mhm.
the sail just needs to open and the world is full of beauty.
Wow.
Today is such a day.
Wow.
My eyes are like the sun that makes promises, the promise of life that it always keeps. Each morning, the living heart gives to us, as does that luminous sphere. Both caress the earth with great tenderness.
Wow.
There is a breeze that can enter the soul. This love I know plays a drum.
Mm.
Arms move around me. Who can contain their self before my beauty? Peace is wonderful, but ecstatic dance is more fun
Sure.
and less narcissistic. Gregarious, he makes our lips.
Beautiful. Very, very fun.
Not finished yet.
Oh.
On a day when the wind is perfect,
Ah.
the sail just needs to open and the love starts. Today is such a day.
Great, great.
That of course reminds me of Sri Ramakrishna saying,
I was going to say that. Oh,
what does he say?
yeah, yeah.
The breeze of grace is always blowing.
Doing.
You have only to raise your sail.
Exactly. That I was so touched by that two saints think alike. This is proof, isn't it?
So the breeze of grace as well as the breeze of beauty.
Mhm. Beauty of God.
Yes.
Yes.
I love this. This love I know plays a drum.
Yeah, I can see that.
Love is a musician.
No, I love rhythm. I love any kind of rhythm.
Well, the referent of the drum may be the heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rumi is a very, very skillful poet. You need a Kleenex?
No, I thought I brought water.
It's okay.
I had a friend in high school who actually, when he was 16, died several times in the not operating emergency room. He had been in a really bad accident, and if he lived, and he's still alive today, but it changed a lot of things about him, and he became very philosophical for a 16-year-old. And he had a saying, he always made sure everybody understood that music is your mother.
Mm.
And some people would ask him what he meant, and basically just that the whole universe has a rhythm, and they even have these really high sensitivity microphones recording space noise, and there's rhythm out there, and there's rhythm in the ocean, and
Yeah.
there's rhythm everywhere. Yes, sure, our hearts, but also the whole earth and beyond.
Mhm.
And so I don't think it would be too much of a stretch to think that the divine presence, that's a part of its being, that rhythm, the drum.
Mhm. And this paragraph, my eyes like the sun that makes promises, the promise of life that it always keeps each morning. And that has such a close resemblance to Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. So that is a sun worship. In that shloka, which is almost known all over India, even a child can recite that. And that is early morning at sunrise. People invoke sun as God. And this reminds me the importance of sun, which is the main source of light. And the meaning roughly in Sanskrit, what it means is, "O sun, you are the powerhouse of light. Enter my soul, enter my intelligence, and let me see everything in your light." This is very, very rough translation, but it is about acknowledging that light, the source of light, the sun. And here I see that sun that makes promises, the promise of life, because it is due to sun that everything in the universe comes alive. And that source enters through and through the whole creation. That I think is the beauty of sunlight. Luminous, that's another word.
What? What was that, Uma?
Luminous, the down that 3 lines down, the living heart gives to us, as does that luminous sphere. So sun and luminosity, they brighten the whole earth. In every Vedic prayer, we see sun worship and sun stuti, the prayer, invocation of sun as form of God.
Well, it's also the earth is dependent on the sun as the source of its
Yeah,
life.
exactly. That's the connection.
But on a spiritual level, we're dependent on this consciousness, love, whatever it is, that's the source of our life, on a spiritual level. And, but they really are kind of one and the same. We talk about light. Um,
That is spiritual light.
yeah, yeah.
I'd just like to remind the group that our habit is to be together as we do this, and it's every one of you has thoughts, every one of you has something to share, and if we're going to succeed with this group, I'd just like to invite everyone to be a little forward and say what these things give rise to you. What is it that happens when you hear such a poem as we just heard from Rumi? I mean, Uma's very used to expressing herself in this way, but that doesn't mean that everyone else isn't very welcome to express themselves. I don't want to say too much myself. I mean, obviously, I love this book, and I can say without exception, I love every poem in it. But I don't want to have my thoughts be in any way driving the discussion. So if anyone else would care to just be bold enough to say, what does this give rise to you, give rise to in you? And then if there is nothing you'd like to say, then would you like to suggest another poem? Something like that.
And Brother Shankar, I give you permission to express your thoughts about, because this isn't a teaching thing, and it's, if you have thoughts, sometimes one person expressing their thoughts, including you, encourages other people to, or makes somebody have an idea about something that they want to say. So don't.
I'd like Jyoti to read the poem again, and just all of us think, what does this mean to me? This is a profound poem. That nothing in this book was included unless it had some gravitas. Ladinsky, the translator and interpreter of these poems, selected, I mean, there were thousands upon thousands of poems to choose from. So anyway, if Jyoti could read it again, maybe if everyone agrees, then perhaps there's something else that can be said. And by the way, hello there, Sharmila. So good to see your name.
Hello.
Hi,
Good
Sharmila.
evening, everybody. Hi.
On a day when the wind is perfect, on a day when the wind is perfect, the sail just needs to open and the world is full of beauty. Today is such a day. My eyes are like the sun that makes promises, the promise of life that it always keeps each morning. The living heart gives to us, as does that luminous sphere. Both caress the earth with great tenderness. There is a breeze that can enter the soul. This love I know plays a drum. Arms move around me. Who can contain their self before my beauty? Peace is wonderful, but ecstatic dance is more fun and less narcissistic. Gregarious, he makes our lips. On a day when the wind is perfect, the sail just needs to open and the love starts. Today is such a day.
When I hear the poem, I just really enjoy and appreciate how much love and peace and joy come out through it. It just lifts up my heart, and it's like my heart flies along with that poem.
Yes, particularly these saints, this testimony of the saints is so powerful.
The line that is standing out for me, the living heart gives to us, as does that luminous sphere. Both caress the earth with great tenderness.
Yeah.
So the living heart, the heart that is alive, the heart that is willing to open its sail on the day when the wind is perfect. The living heart nourishes us just as the sun nourishes the earth and life. And both caress the earth with great tenderness. Oh.
Beautiful, very beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
It just fills me with joy.
Thank you, June. Anything else?
I wish I had the book.
Well, you can. I don't know if you'd be able to read it but you can get the Kindle edition very inexpensively. And if you buy it, the Kindle app always comes free with it. So it's,
And you can make the text big.
yeah, that's what I do. I make it huge.
Shankar actually has it up on his computer, June, as and when they say big, it's like really big on the computer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We can talk about this on Thursday. I might be able to help you get
Okay.
that done.
Yeah, because June, I think you would really enjoy this book. I think it would just make you want to get up and dance.
I know I would. Just
Well, it is a beautiful poem, and I love hearing these poems read by somebody like you guys. I like that aspect of hearing a poem read to me. I just do. But I think this poem, it has a lot of different aspects or depths to it. Like Elizabeth said, the tenderness. I mean, I feel the lightheartedness and the joy of the dance. You know, that made me laugh, that part of it. And I think it's, it's not heavy, but it's like Shankara said, these poems all have a gravitas to them. So it's, there's a depth to it as well. So just noticing all those different aspects of it.
And in other parts of the book, we find poems by Hafiz and Tukaram and people like this, and they are just so funny. I mean, they are just absolutely hilarious. Tukaram especially, what a character. Let me find, well, y'all talk among yourselves. I'll find a Tukaram poem and read it to you.
Well, I thought before we move on, but go ahead and find that, that I would just share something that this poem really connects to something that happened with me just yesterday. A cat that I have shared with my next door neighbor that I loved quite a bit. It was not his time to move on, and so we had a vet come to do the little, to put him to sleep. And we were in the backyard on the grass where we love to be, and the fish pond, and the fish were jumping, and they were happy. They were full of joy. And this was early yesterday morning, and right about the time that the cat was transitioning, his little soul was leaving his body, this ray of light came through the trees. We were facing east and it was morning. This ray of light came through the trees and just illuminated his face for about 5 or 6 seconds. And the vet and my friend and I both we all looked at each other because it was so remarkable. And the cat, his name was Bodhi, like the Bodhi.
My gosh,
Bodhi.
that's my grandson's name.
And, I've been very sad, but at the same time, it was so beautiful and so perfect for him because he was so loving and so sweet. And for that light to come through just at that moment when he was leaving, and then the light went away. But we felt pretty much like, okay, he's free. He's all over the place now. So, and this poem, yeah, it connects a lot in my heart to what we experienced with him yesterday.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Cindy.
Yeah.
Lovely story.
Have you found the poem yet?
I'm looking.
Also, about this poem, it's like, how many days like that do we have? And how many more days like this poem would we have if we read this poem every morning before we start our day?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure.
Okay. If you're ready, this is by Tukaram, and the title is Landlocked in Fur.
You
I
have
was
page,
landlocked in fur.
page
F-U-R, landlocked in fur.
You know the page, Shankara?
No, I'm sorry.
330.
Hang on.
330.
Okay. I was meditating with my cat the other day, and all of a sudden she shouted. I'll start again. I was meditating with my cat the other day, and all of a sudden she shouted, "What happened?" I knew exactly what she meant, but encouraged her to say more, feeling that if she got it all out on the table, she would sleep better that night. So I responded, "Tell me more, dear." And she soulfully meowed, "Well, I was mingled with the sky. I was comets whizzing here and there. I was suns in heat. Hell, I was galaxies. But now look, I'm landlocked in fur." To this I said, "I know exactly what you mean. What to say about conversation between mystics?"
Will you read it one more time, Shankar?
Sure.
It's on page 346.
346.
Landlocked in fur. Now this is Tukaram, who was just, among other things, a comic genius. I was meditating with, and we have to believe, I do anyway, that when these people write these things and say these things, they're telling us the truth. This is not some imaginary little story he made up. He really was meditating with his cat. So that's my belief. I was meditating with my cat the other day, and all of a sudden she shouted, "What happened?" I knew exactly what she meant, but encouraged her to say more, feeling that if she got it all out on the table, she would sleep better that night. So I responded, "Tell me more, dear." And she soulfully meowed, "Well, I was mingled with the sky. I was comets whizzing here and there. I was suns in heat. Hell, I was galaxies. But now look, I am landlocked in fur." To this I said, "I know exactly what you mean. What to say about conversation between mystics?" Isn't that priceless?
Yeah.
And I mean it when I say that I sincerely believe that this is not something that he made up so he could write a clever poem. I think that happened to him. If you read the rest of his poems, you see he's a truth teller. He's a great truth teller. And so all of us, the implication is all of us are landlocked in flesh. Mm-hmm. And when we have these moments in contemplation, concentration, and meditation where we feel free, that's the truth of ourselves. This other is a condition we're in temporarily. What to say about conversation between mystics? And of course, the implication, the deep implication is that our animal friends are having much more profound experiences than we might be giving them credit.
Yes. It also seems like, of course, this is one of my favorites. I say that about all of them, so, but I do love it because I meditate with my cats sometimes when they'll let me. Um, the fact that he says, I was meditating with my cat, and all of a sudden she shouted, "What happened?" I knew exactly what she meant. Sounds like they were having the same meditation experience in that meditation.
Something akin to that, I would, yeah.
But he just wanted her to express herself, so
She would sleep better that night.
We all feel better when we express ourselves.
Amen.
and I love that he honors her very genuinely and sincerely by calling, her an equal to him. She's not just some lower creature.
No.
One of she's a mystic having a conversation with a mystic, which is
And this is the thing. You find all kinds of poems in this book where the writer is having a conversation with some other form of life. There's two about squirrels that are just priceless. One by St. Francis of Assisi and another by Hafiz. It's Cindy, can you find the one by St. Francis of Assisi about his conversation with the squirrel? Because it is just priceless. It is just priceless.
okay. Here I am. This is Saint Francis, and it's called The Sacraments. I once spoke to my friend, an old squirrel, about the sacraments. He got so excited and ran into a hollow in his tree and came back holding some acorns, an owl feather, and a ribbon he had found. And I just smiled and said, "Yes, dear, you understand. Everything imparts his grace." Oh, that's it.
Read it again, Cindy.
I once spoke to my friend, an old squirrel, about the sacraments. He got so excited and ran into a hollow in his tree and came back holding some acorn, an owl feather, and a ribbon he had found. And I just smiled and said, "Yes, dear, you understand. Everything imparts his grace."
The thing that if you know about the life of St. Francis of Assisi, again, it's worth underlining that he really was known for having open conversation with all of creation, including flowers in the fields, the sky itself, squirrels. This is why these are called love poems from God, because each of the poets that are here sees themselves as united, experiences themselves as united with the divine. And what is coming through is the divine presence in the form of words and sound and music. In the little bio of St. Francis, it's mentioned that on occasion he would be walking somewhere with his fellow monastics, and he would pick up a stick from the ground and begin to and pull it across his arm, just an ordinary stick, pull it across his arm, as if he were playing the violin. And other people heard the violin being played. That's what it says.
So it is just a minute after 9 o'clock, and we can go on for a while if you guys would like to. I know Brother Shankara had said this was an hour and a half.
We can go an hour and a half, but there's a lot of quiet here. People aren't used to this yet.
Yeah.
So unless somebody wants to pipe up and say that they want to continue, I think Cindy's right. We can just wind it up here.
I think
Can I read one more poem?
Yes,
Okay.
of course you can.
It's on the facing page of the sacraments, and it just kind of leapt out at me. It's very short. The title is In All Things, and this is by St. Francis of Assisi, from the Christian tradition. It was easy to love God in all that was beautiful. The lessons of deeper knowledge, though, instructed me to embrace God in all things. I'll repeat that. The title is In All Things. It was easy to love God in all that was beautiful. The lessons of deeper knowledge, though, instructed me to embrace God in all things. That's non-duality.
Boy, it sure is.
And it ain't easy.
No, it's not. But that's why he says the lessons of deeper knowledge, of deeper wisdom.
Yeah. It's easy to love the beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The beautiful exists so we can practice and
Well said.
love is, and then take it where it's really needed.
It's easy to love the beautiful, not only outside, but even within ourselves. It's easier to love what's beautiful rather than what is not so beautiful, inside and outside.
Yes. That's what I'm sure what he meant by love God in all things.
But to love only the beautiful, of course, is to not love God completely. You're saying, I only love your beautiful parts.
Yeah. And in one way or another, all 12 of these saints allude to this particular necessity.
Yeah.
That if you want to go beyond what Saint Teresa of Avila called the walls, the seams, you have to assimilate these deeper lessons. That it's all the divine. And as Cindy immediately responded, and so honestly and truly, it's hard. It's that's why these guys are in this book and have lasted these many centuries, because they embody the truth that they're speaking. So,
I have a poem. I have not read this book yet much in depth, but I found this poem by Rabia in Inspired Talks by Swami Vekananda. I don't know if it's included in this book. Should I go ahead and read it?
please.
Okay. I cannot give much of an introduction about Rabia because I don't recall. I mean, I read it fast, but it looks like she suffered a lot. She was an orphan or lost her parents early, and then she was actually kidnapped and raised in a brothel.
Mm-hmm.
When she was around 50 years of age, she was given her freedom by, I guess, one of her clients or something like that. And then she went on to become kind of enlightened, and then people would come to her to seek miracles and advice and things like that. But this poem, I found it very touching, especially given her background. It says, Rabia, sick upon her bed, by two saints was visited. Rabia, sick upon her bed, by two saints was visited. Holy Malik, Hassan wise, men of mark in Muslim eyes. Hassan said, whose prayer is pure will God's chastisements endure. Hassan said, whose prayer is pure will God's chastisements endure. Malik, from a deeper sense, uttered his experience. Oops, I lost the page. 1 second. Now I know what Brother Shankara goes through with this. Oh gosh. Okay, I might not appear on the screen because I have it in another place in my phone. So I'm going to go there so I don't fiddle around with this. So if you all can give me a minute.
Sure.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm fine. Okay, I got it. Okay. So Malik, from a deeper sense, uttered his experience. He who loves his master's choice will, in chastisement, rejoice. He who loves his master's choice will, in chastisement, rejoice. Rabia saw some selfish will in their maxims lingering still. Rabia saw some selfish will in their maxims lingering still, and replied, O men of grace, he who sees his master's face will not in his prayers recall that he is chastised at all.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So that was quite beautiful, I thought.
Well, this is what Holy Mother meant when she said, all suffering is a blessing, whether we understand it in the moment or not. So, shall we call it a night? Thank you very much for that, Swam.
It's my pleasure to read it. I love that poem.
Okay. Well, until next week at 8 o'clock.
Thank you.
O Lord, take my hand. O Lord, pull me on. O Lord, draw me near. O Lord, fill this heart. Thou art my all in all. Thou art my all in all. Without thee, I may fall. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all beings everywhere.
Can I start our video just so we can say bye? Is that okay?
do whatever you want to do. I don't know what that means.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
And
you.
Jill, you
Bye.
need to go further into the frame.
They see me.
Okay.
They see me.
See you. See you, Elizabeth.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Till next week.
Bye. Bye, June.
Bye.
Stay well.
Too.
Bye, Cindy. Bye, June. Bye, Heidi. Bye,
Bye,
Kat.
Barbara.
Bye,
Bye.
Swam. Bye, Bhagarath.
What
Bye-bye all.
she said.